So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel, where today we are going to be talking about Richthofen and potentially the death of his son. We've recently seen him being revealed as the director of Requiem in the Forsaken cutscene, even though we've known about this for quite a while now because we've had hints and teasers every now and again. But in the Forsaken cutscene on Richtofen's desk, you can see there are two pictures. If you extract these from the game files, we can get a better look at them. The first one is of him in a jet. On the side of it says Blue Baron. I don't think there's anything we can really take from this one that's story related, other than the fact that Richtofen used to clearly be a fighter pilot. But the second picture is very interesting because we can see it is Richtofen, a woman who I would assume is his wife, and his son. Richtofen in the Cold War universe has a family. Now, since he's only just been revealed to us, it's not a surprise that we haven't heard anything about his wife or his son. But if you take your minds back to the beginning of the Cold War zombie story, you may remember hearing about a boy. He's mentioned by both Samantha and Weaver in various different pieces of intel. It was revealed to us in those radios and documents that the boy was killed, specifically by Weaver, but Samantha was also a part of that. And what we thought in the early days was this boy that was killed by Weaver and Samantha must have been Eddie, because in our old timeline, in the Ether story, the boy was what Eddie was referred as when he was a child. And since we hadn't seen Eddie in the Cold War Zombie storyline yet, because that was what he was referred to in the old story, there was the possibility, or at least I think that's what Treyarch wanted us to believe, that this boy that died in Cold War Zombies was also Eddie. Now, we can obviously see that isn't the case because Eddie Richtofen is right here. We can see him alive as an adult. Also, the dates don't really match up because the date that the boy was killed was back in 1979. Eddie would have been a lot older then, in his late 20s, leaving us with the big question then: who was the boy that was killed by Weaver and Samantha? And well, going over it again, which is what we're going to do in this video, there is the chance that the boy that was killed was Richtofen, but not this version of him, and instead his son, the one we see him holding in this picture. Remember, Richtofen is his surname, so the boy would have also been called Richtofen as well. That's if he took his father's surname. In order to understand this story, then we first need to know exactly where and what date, and also under what circumstances, Weaver and Maxis first met.
I want you to know that I've been in your shoes, and you can trust Weaver. He's a good man to have in your corner. A good boss. Back in the 70s, West Germany was a major investor and supplier to Iran. In exchange for oil and gas, we propped up their steel industry and aided their nuclear power program. I was there in '79 when the revolution kicked off. Western intelligence agencies coordinated with the CIA to ensure the Shah's safe extraction to the US. But a lot of diplomats and citizens weren't so lucky. Me included. If it wasn't for Weaver's intervention and willingness to go off the books, I'd be a forgotten memory by now. Trust him. Trust me. For now, I'm going to have to go dark. I'm en route to meet a contact in Southeast Asia. He says he knows exactly what Omega Group is planning.
It was back in 1979, during the Iran Revolution. The CIA was sent in to ensure the Shah's safe extraction to America, but we learned from this that a lot of diplomats and citizens weren't so lucky, Samantha included. And if it wasn't for Weaver's intervention and willingness to go off the radar, she'd be dead by now. However, in this next video we learned not everything went as planned.
Weaver.
Hello, Sam.
You look serious.
My colleagues tell me you've not exactly been cooperative, or forthcoming. Instead, you've been evasive. Obtuse, even.
Ain't that just like me?
This isn't a joke, Sam. I'm worried about you. We all are.
After what I've been through, do you honestly think I'm joking?
Sam.
I thought I'd died and gone to hell. I thought everything and everyone I ever knew was gone forever.
You've been to hell before, though, Sam. We both have. I was never going to leave you there to die.
Like you did the boy.
That's not fair, Sam. That was a different situation. We both did all we could.
but not enough. He's still dead, isn't he?
I can see you're agitated, so I'm gonna let you get some rest. I hope you feel better soon. I don't want to upset you.
Why? Are you worried I'll destroy everything like you think I did at Outpost 25? Weaver!
Weaver is talking to Samantha. This radio takes place after Samantha was sent into the Dark Ether by Dr. Peck in Firebase C, and after she returns and is taken back to Requiem HQ, Samantha says to him, "I thought I'd died and gone to hell. I thought everything and everyone I ever knew was gone forever." Weaver replies, "You've been to hell before though, Sam. We both have. I was never going to leave you there to die," referring to the situation what happened in Iran, hell being the war that took place there, and Weaver saying he was never going to leave her there to die in the Dark Ether, just how he never left her there to die during the Iran Revolution. And Samantha replies back, "Like you did the boy," to which Weaver says, "That's not fair, Sam. That was a different situation. We both did all we could." And Samantha says, "But not enough. He's still dead, isn't he?" So this was the first time we heard of the death of this boy, but we still didn't really know the full situation. We weren't 100% sure who this boy was, under what circumstances he was killed, just that it happened in Iran and it had something to do with Weaver and Samantha. And then as we progressed through the zombie storyline, we began to get diaries from Samantha while she was locked up in quarantine in Requiem HQ. Her first diary entry said, "I'm writing it down, not because I don't know what happened, but so that others will. My name is Maxis, Samantha Maxis. I know you're reading this, Weaver, and I know you feel the same guilt I do about the boy. I promised I would keep him safe, but we both failed him. The last thing I expected was for you to move as quickly as you did. The operation should never have happened. If I'd have known the steps you would take, I would not have told you the location. The house was supposed to be safe. We both feel the guilt, but I will always blame myself, more than you." Her second diary entry reads, "I am not disappointed, I am just angry. After everything I've done, you still don't trust me. I've been damned before, and I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. Do you even remember the first time we met? Sometimes I do, but other times it seems more like a dream. All I know for sure is that it was a war zone, one that I feared I would never be able to escape. In some ways, I'm glad you didn't clean me for field ops. Yes, I know it was you, because I don't ever want to go back." And her final diary entry reads, "I remember waiting for your call. 10, 11, 12, the phone never rang. Instead, I saw the news of the explosion on TV. I couldn't sleep. 3 AM, I heard a knock at my apartment door. You gave me the keyword, and I let you in. We'd never met face to face before. It was a shock to finally meet you. You were in a bad way. I did my best to dress your wounds, but it was the first and only time I ever saw you cry. You mumbled something about not knowing, about how sorry you were. You torched the place to cover your tracks after the hit. You said the boy was supposed to be staying with his mother, but he wasn't. He was there, in the house, while it burned to the ground." So from what I can work out, it was Samantha that gave intel to Weaver about a house. This house was supposed to be clear, no one was supposed to be staying there. It seems that a boy that should have lived there, from Samantha's intel, wouldn't have been there at the time that she sent Weaver there, so he was supposed to be staying with his mother in a different house, but he wasn't. So Weaver acted upon Samantha's intel, went to this house, ended up burning it down to cover his tracks for whatever he did, that we don't know, but it turned out the boy was there, and he burned alive in the house fire that Weaver started, upon the intel that no one was supposed to be there, that Samantha gave to him. Like I said, in this intel we still don't learn why Weaver was sent to that house in the first place, why Samantha wanted him to go there, but he did. He ended up burning it down to cover his tracks, and it turns out he ended up killing a boy. However, there are 2 more radios that finish this story off.
Hello?
Hello, Sam. I'm not allowed to visit in person, but I just wanted to check in.
Before the operation tomorrow? Be there or be square.
I know I can't tell you what to do. You wouldn't listen anyway. But seriously.
I know my orders, Weaver. I assist with the infill, but then...
You stand down. We can't risk any mistakes. We both know how badly things can go south if we act impulsively.
You're talking about the boy, aren't you?
And the mother.
It wasn't your fault.
It wasn't yours either, Sam.
Thanks for calling, Weaver. I'll see you in the morning.
Goodbye, Sam.
So in this first one, which takes place just before our final map Forsaken, it is Weaver and Maxis having a conversation. Samantha's saying to Weaver, "Luke, I know my orders, I know what I have to do, I will stop the Forsaken if I have to." Weaver says to her, "You have to stand down. We can't risk any mistakes. We both know how badly things can go if we act impulsively." And Samantha says back, "You're talking about the boy, aren't you?" Weaver says, "And the mother." And Maxis says, "It wasn't your fault." I'm not gonna lie, it kind of sounds like the mother also died in the house fire. The way Samantha says, "You're talking about the boy, aren't you?" in terms of how things can go bad if they act impulsively. And then Weaver says back, "And the mother," makes it sound like she died as well, but this is the only time we hear about this. They could just be talking about the mother in terms of her losing her son, but maybe she did die, we don't know. But in this last radio, I believe this is where we can start to link things up.
His name was Samuel, and we will forever feel responsible for his death. I gave the intel to Weaver. The intel he acted upon. That's what we're all supposed to do, right? Act on the available intel. That's just what Weaver did. Act. Unfortunately, his actions resulted in collateral damage that neither of us will ever be able to forgive ourselves for. I'm sorry. I know he is too. But I still have a terrible feeling that the events of that day may yet come back to haunt us. I just need you to know. I am sorry.
So Samantha tells us the name of the child that she killed was Samuel. She gave intel to Weaver, he acted upon that intel, and unfortunately, Weaver's actions resulted in the death of Samuel. So how does this all link into Richtofen? As I said in the beginning, we've seen on his desk there is a picture of his wife and his son. Now the boy in our previous timeline was Eddie. In our new timeline, the Dark Ether story in Cold War, it's clearly not him, but what if the boy was Richtofen's son? What if his son was Samuel? First off, his name. We know in our old timeline, Primus or Ultimus Richtofen's best friend was Samuel Stuhlinger. We don't know if Eddie Richtofen lost his memory or not. That doesn't seem to be the case. So if he can remember Samuel Stuhlinger from the old timeline, could that be one of the reasons why he potentially named his son Samuel after a character he was very familiar with, who was friends with another version of him, being Samuel Stuhlinger? Maybe, maybe not. But also at the end of this radio, Samantha says, "I still have a terrible feeling that the events of that day may yet come back to haunt us." What reason would the events of Samantha and Weaver killing a child and his mother come back to haunt her? And well, maybe that's already happened because Samantha is now banished to the Dark Ether and Weaver's been arrested. And who's done that to them? That's Eddie. Eddie sent Samantha into the Dark Ether, or he had a big role to play in it. He persuaded her to realise her true powers, which in turn made her sacrifice herself by sending herself into the Dark Ether. And also, it was Eddie that arrested Weaver. Have those events of them killing a boy and his mother come back to haunt them, in terms of Eddie getting his revenge for killing what could have been his son and maybe his wife? There are still many questions. I mean, we don't know 100%, but it is very strange how we see on Richtofen's desk he has a son and a wife, and a big part of the Dark Ether story is us since the very beginning, something Treyarch have been teasing for a very long time, which is the death of a boy and potentially his mother. Could it have been Eddie Richtofen's son and wife? We don't know, or they could be alive. But there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.